being on the same set as Tim Burton, working as an assistant?
I'm still considering them being the best days of my life. They were filming while we were doing our shoot, but obviously I wasn't allowed there. What is a camera? What is a lens? You learn that on YouTube.
A post on the story that you did from that shoot with the lights you arranged and so on landed you a big studio job. And hello people, this is Tudor from Blu-reo and this is a creative seminar. This is a series where we do kind of a podcast. Half of it goes into talking about the creative industry, how it feels like to be a creative, our struggles, our stories, and the other half is just a sneak peek into the guest's process for creativity. Today, our guest is Cătălin Popa, a longtime friend of mine and an amazing fashion photographer. For Cătălin, there is no imperfect photograph. There are only photographs that get scrapped and photographs that aren't finished yet. And until perfection isn't achieved, there is no final product. Cătălin has worked with studios, has worked on movie sets. He has certainly a lot of experience and I hope we're going to learn a lot from him today. Hello, Cătălin.
Hello, Tudor. Nice to have you here.
Yeah.
I've met you years ago. I don't have to say nice to meet you again, but yeah, who knows? Maybe we are another persons every time we meet, so we have to remember and say nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well today. Okay, so let's get right into the questions.
Let's go.
That's great. Let's get to the creative part. So, your work, your photography, what you love doing most. Romania versus Milano, or where you're from, near Milano. What's the difference?
So I moved in Italy. I did a switch to Milano, chasing fashion, because when you say fashion, you say Milano, Italy, Milano, Paris, New York. So Milano was the closest option, and also when you say art, belle arti, you say Italy.
Yeah, so these were your expectations. How did Milano meet them or fall short of them?
First, I have stepped up the competition. I increased the difficulty of the game by moving in Italy, so I have to keep up, and it's always better to have competition and to improve yourself, because also you have to improve yourself for your standards or for what you're chasing. Some people are happy with what they do, and their clients. If the client is happy, you are happy as well. And I think everyone knows this.
Yeah, but you're not built that way, and I know it. You're I sometimes I think I'm a perfectionist, but then I remember that you exist, and I know that it could be a lot worse. So essentially, in my experience with you, if you're not happy with a photograph, it's either not finished or it's not a photograph at all. It's completely scrapped.
Yeah.
Delete.
Yes, it's exactly like this. So it's black and white, let's say. I'm in the extreme zones. I don't have the gray shades in the middle, because I don't like the idea of I'm not completely happy with this, but it works. Let's say it works like this. It's gonna be okay. For me, it's either good for my standards or it's not. So I have to redo it, or I will just throw it in the drawer, never show it to anyone, and maybe I will come back to it 2 years later, or like I've done months ago. I edited a project that I haven't touched in 2 years, which is fine, is better because you can see the improvement in editing and the skills that I updated over time.
Cool. Would you say that you being a perfectionist was harder in Romania than it is in Milano? I'm specifically thinking about the environment and how that can help you a lot in fashion photography, but you may have any other examples. So is it easier for you to be a fashion photographer perfectionist in there or not?
I think it's easier here, or so I noticed, that the current style in the period when we are talking, so maybe in 5 years, if someone will see this, the style will be different. Maybe 5 years ago the style was different, and I'm very sure of it. In this moment, there is also something that I want to get over it, to stop struggling too much about the technical side of a photo, and just go for it and start shooting. Yes, it means decreasing a bit the perfectionism in what means technicality, the technical side of a photo, but it's increasing it on the other side of the creative. So I'm not feeling afraid to try new things, or just I'm not feeling judged by myself or by other people by doing so.
Yeah, that's great progress from what I'm hearing from you, because there's always this balance that you are trying to achieve when you're a creative, right? You need some spontaneity in order to get your juices flowing, in order to feel like you're doing something new, to get that rush, that excitement, but you also need to know your shit. You need to know where you're going, you need to know what you're doing, because you cannot always just count on your creativity to do the work for you. So it sounds like in this tension you're a lot more balanced now, and maybe Italy helped you in that way. It was a needed change.
It did for sure, and also you are not getting stuck. I don't know if I'm repeating myself, or because I cannot hear myself from 30 seconds ago.
No, you should keep saying, no matter if it sounds the same, you should keep saying it, because people need to hear it, and people need to get it inside of their mind and hear about your process and your experience. You have a lot to share, so go ahead.
When you struggle too much about the technical part, you lose a bit of the essence of the shoot. You lose a bit of your connection to the model, your connection to your team, because you keep thinking too much about how my lights are placed, the intensity, the distance between me and the model, the distance between the model and the background, my aperture, camera settings. They are important, but also over time you manage to not to struggle too much. You just feel them, you get used to doing it, and so they will go in how is it, a cortex reflex. They will go in your reflex, so
yeah,
it's gonna be much easier, so you can focus on the important, the other important half.
Yeah, definitely.
Of the creative process, because that's why we call it creative process, right? So
yeah, something that pops to mind is a story from back when we were in university, when we had the portrait exam in year 2, I think, and my photographs were great. I worked my ass off for them, and I got a maximum grade. But one of the teachers, the feedback he gave me was that it's too perfect for my taste. I don't know if you remember it, but it stuck with me, and it is true. Sometimes flow and personality are important in order to manage to send a message, right?
I was trying to remember about your project because I don't remember it.
No problem. I was just it was just about the comments.
I remember. I remember.
Yeah.
With the little poem and
yeah,
frame inception style, intro beginning, and then
going back to reality.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it, and also you were always very assumed, so you were never afraid to try.
Yeah, but this is about you. I'm comfortable sharing my stuff, but I'm sharing my stuff constantly on this channel, and I think people want to know more about you this time. Yeah. What would you say was?
We are here in a conversation. We are not at an interview, so it's not only you asking the questions.
True. You can ask me anything if you ever wanted. But just so that I don't forget it, what would you say was your most successful exercise in university, and what have you learned from it?
My most successful exercise. So I will talk about two of them because you learn something new from every project. So I think it's better to approach both of them.
Yeah, sure.
In the last year, first we had the product photography hot quality project.
Yeah.
I put my trust too much in some people, my trust and my time, and it didn't prove to be fruitful for my project. Instead of being an exchange of helping each other, because that's why we are students and we need each other, we work in a team, I ended up helping too many people, and then their exchange never happened, and I just wasted time by investing my time in them. So I had to do it myself. It doesn't mean that I did a bad job or a good one, but at least this is what I've learned, and by doing their side of work, I also learned how to do other people's side of work. So a bit of production, a bit of scenography, and I don't remember the others. I had to improvise a lot, but I think I managed to have a decent result from my standards. Mm-hmm. Because before we talked about my standards, so it was decent, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah. So the lesson was take care of your part of the pie before you get to the assistant part of the pie. Like finish photography before thinking about assistance and assisting other projects.
Somehow, and also I don't know, trying to read people more from the beginning if they will really help you after you help them.
Yeah.
But this is a gamble. At the beginning you don't know, but after years you will discover the pattern. You will see. You trying to get more comfortable here.
Yeah. Sure.
So you will start seeing the pattern, and it's gonna be easy for you, so that you will not waste time. I was about to get rejected from participating in the exam because I didn't have anything to show.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like 5 days before the exam or something, I came with my project, which is, it was unacceptable because you needed the approval, you know how it works.
Yeah.
And the other one, my fashion photography project, I wanted to prove myself that I learned something in 3 years of university, and especially after my experience for being an assistant for Netflix for Wednesday.
Nice. We should go into that later. So, what did you manage to prove yourself with this?
I proved myself that I know what I'm doing, and I need to have more self-confidence when it comes about some stuff, especially about managing people and my editing skills, let's say. Because as much as I enjoy doing photography, I'm still improving, and I'm trying to improve on the editing, on taking the creative process in the other digital side, in the final post-production.
Great. Okay, so you mentioned before the experience of being on the same set as Tim Burton, working as an assistant for Wednesday. How was that? I mean, so close to a legend.
So far, I'm still considering them being the best days of my life as a job. I wasn't even a photographer. I was just an assistant, but it was so nice knowing that I make part of such a huge team, and that I'm able and I'm at that level of doing my stuff. Being close to Iena Ortega, to Catherine Zeta-Jones, to Luis Guzman, it was very nice, and I have 3 days full of memories.
Yeah, and besides memories, like professionally, being on a set so big, so many moving pieces. I mean, it's TV production, it's a series, not a movie, but it must have been pretty damn serious. How was that professionally?
So I was the assistant on the marketing campaign Photoshoot. So I haven't seen them filming. They were filming while we were doing our shoot, but obviously I wasn't allowed there in the first place, and then I had my stuff to do. And because we are in a creative and visual job, visual, how do you say meserie in English? Just job. Craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Whatever. So because we work with visuals, it's so important to see how other people work, how they are organizing their workflow, and just their level of professionalism. And every time you feel insecure about what you're doing, same was the photographer from Netflix. He was having doubts about himself, and come on, man, you are Matthias Klammer. You are used to this. You took the photos from La Casa de Papel, from Wednesday, from any other others Netflix series, because he is still working with Netflix, obviously.
Mm-hmm. So he was having second thoughts as well. he was emotional as well during the shoot?
Yes, yeah, exactly. We had this conversation in lunch break. It was the only time when they asked us to sit at their table. They said, "Hey, come here," and it was a very nice conversation. And you realize that they are human too, even if they are very talented and skillful persons. They are human too. And he was doubting about his workflow, if he is fast enough, if the client will be happy. And yeah, the client was happy. Plot twist.
Artistic influences. Do you have any artistic influences that come to mind that have inspired you throughout your career?
So photography wise, right now I'm a huge fan of Alex Dragan.
Shout out to my boy.
And Nima Benati. Nima Benati being an Italian photographer, and I cannot stop admiring her work, and I want to be at that level.
Yeah, who knows if Nima Benati sees this one day when this channel grows, maybe it will do you a service.
I will send the link to her on the email, because I texted her on September, and last week, after how many months? 5 months, she replied to me. So
yeah. Important steps.
It's a beginning.
Yeah,
it's a beginning.
Cool. Okay, so you mentioned as your first influence, big influence, Alex Dragan. If he's fine with that, because you know him best, if he's fine with that and you're fine with that, can you share a bit about your relationship as professional photographers and what it means to you, what it means to him?
So I consider him my bigger brother that I never had, and I know he considers me also his little brother he never had. And yeah, it's a very long story. Everything starting from me in the pandemic, in the second year of university, texting him that I like his work, I want to assist him, to learn from him. And he replied. I was not expecting this. Usually, you know, when you text someone and they never reply, or your message just goes in the request list and it stays there. He replied like 10 or 15 minutes after. He was very positive about it, and I don't know if someone ever told him before that they want to learn from him. He told me that unfortunately, because of the pandemic, because of COVID, the number of people on set is limited. But once the situation becomes a bit more
relaxed,
yeah, this is the best the best word. He will contact me, and from that moment, I never texted another photographer. Some people will consider this being a very stupid thing, and that why did I trust him so much? But I did, and again, like 5 months after, he replied to me if I want to come, if I still want to do this, and that next week he's having a job. And that's the day where it all started. He texted me in the day when we took the casting portfolios for the actors at our university.
Interesting day.
Because he was also following me on Instagram, so he kept seeing that I'm active and I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm learning, and that I know a bit about lights, so I wasn't. He was not teaching me from scratch. What is a camera? What is a lens? You learn that on YouTube.
Yeah. It's funny because absolutely nothing in this journey of becoming a creative, absolutely nothing is without meaning, without consequence. Like, I remember that when we got that assignment for the casting photographs, we were all like, man, why us? I mean, why do we have to do this? And then from like a post on the story that you did from that shoot with the lights you arranged and so on, landed you a big studio job and a big relationship from your creative pursuits. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was the only good part in that portfolio shoots, because our photos, I mean, ours were okay. The others, let's not talk about.
Yeah.
Ours were okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, indeed, he replied to that story saying that you still want to come.
Great.
And yeah, that's the day it all started, and we are still talking, we are still exchanging opinions and tips, because now that I improved myself in all of these years, we give advice to each other and we criticize each other. And also, yeah, this morning earlier we talked right before the call.
Cool. Yeah, so it's very important to have people who you can talk to that understand what you're doing, that understand photography, trying to be creative, trying to make it, to land clients, how to approach a client, what it means to go through this whole fashion photography in your case, design in my case. But it's very important to have these people. But as I understand it, Dragan, for you, Alex Dragan, is a bit more than just one person that you can chit chat about fashion photography with. How would you say having a relationship this close with another professional, with some sort of a mentor, has impacted you?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of thoughts that they are fighting over which one to be the first one.
Take your time. Take your time. It's all right.
I am. It's a bit of a bottleneck for those who know the principles, the principle of bottlenecking. So first of all, you know that you can talk to someone who will not judge you personally, let's say. So they will not say, you are stupid or you don't know what you're doing. They know your potential, and if you get lost, they can bring you back on track with a good critic, or just imagine that I don't know, like in cartoons, you have someone from the phone just grabbing you and, hey, wake up, get out of the cave. This is what he's telling me, to get out of the cave and to start shooting, have at least a shoot every 2 weeks. So maybe, and I want to make a tradition of this. I don't want just to stay inside or walk around and collecting locations and just having imaginary photo shoots that I can actually have.
Yes, this is
a big bubble that as a creative you need to get out of and start doing it. You're thinking of it, but start doing it.
Yes, but it's very interesting what you said, because it comes from a person, like this motivation to keep going and to keep doing it. and do it recurrently all the time. It comes from a person that isn't judging your character and isn't judging who you are based on one photograph or on one result, saying, this photograph is no good, it means that you're a horrible photographer or something like that. And oftentimes we do that with ourselves, and it's very important to also have some people who you can believe in and who believe in you in order for that, and maybe reach a point where you start believing in yourself like these people believe in you, in order to get that motivation to go outside, keep doing it. One bad photograph, one bad design doesn't mean I'm a bad designer or a bad photographer. Yeah, and persist.
Yeah, because also is this pressure that maybe every creative feels, or that if you're a photographer, every time you need to take great photos. If you are a designer, any design of yours should be the greatest, should be without any imperfection, without any problem, any issue, everything should be flawless. And it's a pressure that I feel, and it's I understand when you reach a level, the hardest thing is to stay there and not to fall. But even if you just take a little step back, you have to understand that it's part of the learning process, instead of oh my god, I lost myself, I've done a bad job, and now I've been demoted.
Yeah, it's funny, and it's part of the reason why I have this channel, because if you're I don't know, an accountant or an architect, like standard jobs, I don't know, an engineer, you don't always perform at your top level. You always try to do that, but everything you do is not always your best work. You might do some mistakes, you might have an off day, and it's allowed, because people understand that we need to work in teams, we need to be together, count on each other to fill in the gaps that we cannot fill at some point. But when you're a creative, there's often this pressure from clients and from other people in the industry or outside of it as well, that it's all on you. Like, you need to bring your creativity to the table every single day. It needs to be perfect, and if it's not, it means it's something wrong with you, or you're not as creative, or as there's this mystification of creativity, but it's a job, like accounting is, like architecture is, like engineering is, and we need to rely on each other to fill in the gaps.
Yes, and also another very important thing is that the client is paying us for that day. So in that day you need to do a great job, because the client will not give you another day. So this giving you another day would mean to double the budget, because you work in a team. So you need the location, you need the makeup, the hair, you need the assistants, the equipment, the models, or you need everyone.
Yeah.
To pay for another day of shooting, because maybe you screwed something up, or if you are web developer or an engineer, you have more time in this, you have other people holding your back. If you encounter a bug, you will fix it, but it's not crucial in that very second.
Yeah, there's a lot more pressure on us as creatives in general, because of this time aspect and budget aspect. But going back to the story about you and Dragan, teams, working in teams, working together, counting on each other, it's crucial, and it can make the difference between a passionate photographer and a professional photographer.
we still wait for the day to work again. And he told me that when I moved here in Italy, he told me that he was believing that we will be like the photographer from Netflix and his assistant, because they were working together for a lot of years and they've done all the projects together, and he was believing the same about us. And I've told him that it's not over and he will not escape from me. So
yeah,
we will work again together. I don't know when, but we will.
Yeah, a connection like that where you understand each other and your workflow so well is something you just don't leave behind.
Yes, and especially when you have an assistant that knows what you're talking about when you tell him, bring me this from there, bring me that from there.
Yeah. It's kind of like sports in that way, like when footballers or basketball players learn where to pass or where each other will be. Yeah, it's kind of like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. You know the formation, you have to predict which one will be the next move, so that you will. It's a very, very beautiful dynamic on set.
Yeah. One last question before we move on to the creative part, to what you have to show us. What sparked your initial interest in photography? Tell us that story.
So I was in the second year of high school, and an association from the city where I lived in, and made a photography contest with the theme was Europe Today or something like this, and it was me with my photo taken with the phone. I don't remember exactly which photo was it, but I remember that it was in the theme. And then two guys having cameras, taking photos for events, for pubs, for bars. A lot of people knew them for having cameras, for being photographers, and it was a like-based contest. So the photo with the most likes, that photo will have the first place, second, third, and so on. And they came, and they had like 700, 600 likes, because the Facebook pages of the pubs and the people they were working with, they were sharing their photo, and then it was me with 200 likes in the third place. And then sadly a girl with a photo of 3 chestnuts threw me out from the third place, because she had more likes. I don't know which one was more triggering, the girl with the chestnuts or the guys having cameras. I said, okay, I will get a camera and I will show you how to do it. But the spark was not that kind of story, that when I was a kid I always wanted to do this, or I realized I like doing this, taking photos of flowers, of the sunset, of my little cousin at the family meetings, at the family gatherings. So I just had that click, that trigger, that okay, if it's like this, I will show you how to do it. If everything is just having a camera and taking photos. And I've lost because of networking, which is very important. Meeting people, making relations, and those guys, they became my friends, and that's how it works.
Yeah, just as I said,
First you envy someone, then you become friends. I never considered them competition. Competition, it's a weird subject. Why looking at someone else and considering him competition if your styles are completely different? Because obviously you will have different clients and there is enough room for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a bit weird. And to bring it back and kind of wrap it up with your previous point, sometimes, whether we like it or not, whether we want to stay in our cave, as you said it, and do our creative work, it's all about networking. Sometimes you have to know the people, you have to talk to them, go out there, meet new creatives, meet new potential clients, and just talk, just find out more.
Yeah, for being creatives, we are people dependent. So we are working with people, we have people choosing our work, and also the ocean is big and there are plenty of fish. You need to find that fisherman who catches you because he likes your job. So because finding a creative, it's exactly like throwing your fishing rod in the sea and just looking for the fish.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to make yourself visible.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because when people talk about clients, they usually get it the other way around. Like, I need to go fishing, I need to bring a net, maybe like a big net or a harpoon, in order to catch as many fish as I can and get them all for me and get the money and get the clients. But yeah, I think you got it right, because the client is looking for a creative. We're looking for clients as well, but the client has specific needs and has to find the creative that suits them. Okay, so now we move on to the creative part, where we're going to see Cătălin editing a fashion photograph that he took 1 or 2 days ago. He's going to tell you more about it and see his process, his creative process from start to finish. Let's get into it.
So first we begin with pre-production. You make the mood board, you come with an idea, and I have some very nice spots here in the city where I live in, and I've noticed this hotel and I said, okay, I really want to make something with it. It's from, also the architecture is 70-80 style. I wanted the styling to be to correspond to that period of time. So this, I wanted also the color palette to go in green and orange colors and shades. And I'm very happy with the stylist and what she's done, because this photo was shot after the sunset. It's a bit too cold, so I want to warm it up a bit. Disclaimer that what I see in front of me on my monitor will be different from what Tudor sees and what you will see, the viewer, on your phone, on your laptop, on your
Yes, it's always
monitor.
a struggle with color correction and different displays in photography, but this is just to showcase your process. And as you've said, you're changing the white balance because it was shot after sunset, which means that the shadows are incredibly cool.
Yes, it was that blue hour, that so I want to warm it up a bit, and also I will check with my second screen just to see how it looks on both of them. So maybe 8000 Kelvin, it's fine. Then because we work with Sony, I work with Sony usually. I decreased the contrast by -20, and then I started editing the photo. But in this case, and knowing how the screen I'm editing on works, I will just increase the contrast a bit for the look I want to achieve.
So the contrast decrease you usually do is because Sony adds a bit of pre-processing to their images, right?
Yes, I consider that Sony RAW files, they still have a bit too much contrast. So I start from -20, and then I add it back from the black slider or curves, or levels.
Yeah, great. Just so that we don't forget to mention it, you're working in Capture One here, right?
Yes, I'm working in Capture One. I started working in this program 3 years ago, I think, and it's the industry standard right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great to know.
Lightroom is for people who are passionate about photography, and Capture One is what professional people use.
Mm-hmm. A great advantage of Capture One would be layer-based editing, right? For images.
I don't remember if now you have layers in Lightroom or not, because I stopped working on it, working with it.
Yeah.
A long time ago, and I know that last year they implemented some select subject feature, select background feature, but now they are in Capture One as well. 1 year later, but I'm still using Capture One.
Mm-hmm. I think they call them just masks, and it doesn't matter the order in which you apply them. It's certainly not as intuitive as in Capture One.
Okay, let's go straight to the green levels. In the green channel, I want to add a bit of green. I also have the sun in my screen. This is clearly not the hour that I usually edit my photos.
Yeah, like so the sun is physically right in your screen, and it's difficult to see.
Yeah, it's directly hitting my screen.
Yeah.
So I have to check on both monitors.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit of saturation. You should never
overdo it,
and especially not to get too hyped about saturation and just do this.
Yeah.
Keep it simple. It's just better.
Decrease the highlights.
Always double checking to see what is influencing and what not, because sometimes maybe you have some highlights on the face that you still want to keep a bit visible, and from the background you just want to kill them.
Yeah.
So I think I'm pretty happy with this. Obviously the people in the background, it's gonna be in the Photoshop workflow that will come after this pole, and maybe the other poles as well, because they are not something, even if it's a street photo shoot, the poles, they can disappear.
Mm-hmm.
They are not a core element. Same with this zebra line here, it's gonna go away. Remove everything that is not a core element. I want to add a bit of green in the shadows, and also increase the saturation to see what you're doing, and then after you will.
Yeah. So you're increasing the saturation in order to see the hue that you're applying, and
yeah, exactly. and where is it applying, because in this color balance wheel, I don't know how to call it, it starts from 0, and if it starts from 0 you don't know where you put it. In the highlights I want to go a bit orange, also because we have highlights on her face, so putting another color than a proper skin tone is not gonna look good. No, because I'm looking on the second screen, I think there's need of more. And also in the midtones. So the midtones are the properly exposed areas of the photo.
Yeah. So before you set the white balance in order to adjust your entire photo, and now you are fine-tuning your coloring, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I still don't know if for you and for the audience it's a bit too green. This is a never-ending subject until you print it on paper. You will have just 1,000 of versions of your photo on every screen.
Yeah.
And I think I will print it.
Yeah, it might be interesting to post that at some point in order for people to see.
It's gonna be on my next generation of business cards, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then in the skin tone slider, in this case, because we have too much orange, if you check view selected color range, you will find out that almost the entire photo is selected.
So you have to fine-tune your color selection?
Yeah, I want to improve the skin tone a bit, so I will reduce the yellow specter of the selection, and a bit more from red and orange until you start seeing the face losing saturation, which happens exactly here in her eyes, if you can tell. And you don't want that.
Yeah.
And I will make it a bit more green, I think. I always double check. Maybe it will look better if I go on the magenta side instead of green, which I was planning initially. It's a lot of work and you need patience.
Yes, it's an art of subtlety for sure, and people shouldn't forget that your pre-shoot, your artboarding and all of that, your pre-production dictates that you're trying to achieve a 70s kind of style and the film look. So right now, any decision that you're taking is through that lens of trying to achieve that 70s film look.
Yeah. Also, unfortunately, I will not say any kind of secrets into editing that maybe the people expect, because I like to keep it simple, and it's not something that will make people say, finally, so this is how people are doing it and I was looking for it. And because I spend a lot of time watching people editing, watching tutorials, just waiting for that secret that no one says, but I don't have any secrets.
There is no recipe. Yeah,
and exactly, no recipe. And now the background, I just click on the background mask, which works very, very nice in this version. Now Capture One is examining the photo and is creating the mask, which looks like this.
Yeah, perfect.
It's almost perfect. It's a bit here over over her arm, so just take the eraser and remove it. Okay, good to go. And from the background I just want it to be just a bit more darker. 0.4 will do the job, and maybe a bit less contrast. Like -10, because we want the attention on our model.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want a punchy hotel behind her.
Yeah, needs to be a background still.
To me it looks pretty good. And also, if I didn't show you some secrets in editing, I will give you a little tip. So when you are the photographer, especially, and let's say you don't have a budget, you have people believing in your idea, in your mood board, and they want to help you. In this case, I have the model and the stylist. You need to take photos for them as well. And this is what I want. I want the stylist to have photos for her portfolio as well, because she did a good job and is respectful for everyone this way.
Yeah,
because every member of the team needs to be respected.
Yes, so not a lot of resources, but you have people. That means you have a lot of resources, but you don't realize it yet, and you should use that.
Yeah, exactly. People are the best resource.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a bit more punchy. I still think in sRGB and on the phone and your screens it will look better like this.
Yeah.
Even if on my screen it's already too much.
Yeah.
But I think in yours it's just fine.
Yeah, it looks a bit better with more texture like this. I have just one question about cropping before we wrap this up. Did you crop this already?
No, this is how the photo looks like, how I framed it. So in Capture One, if I do this, you see that I'm cropping. So if I don't have any kind of darker areas in the grid, this is how I framed. I still have to straighten it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this is my OCD, no one requires it. I just want to have straight lines. And also the perspective a bit, because I was in the street and I had to constantly come back on the sidewalk, go in the middle of the street. And by doing this, every time it's very difficult to maintain the same framing. Also, you need to keep an eye open to look for cars. You need to keep the other eye open to see your model that is still in frame.
Yeah.
And
multitasking. Thank God for editing tools.
People were editing on film as well, so this is nothing new.
Yeah, I don't know if they were editing the perspective of their photograph. You might know that better, but I don't think so.
So, for a side by side, to have the... I never used the side by side before and after in Capture One, so I don't know if it exists, because for me I find it useless.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I use the before and after, I just do full view, press Y and see it. But for you, I will do like this to see a side by side split view.
Yeah, very cool. I think you've...
And I will proceed further into Photoshop, removing the people, the polls, the whatever. Maybe I will come back and just tweak a bit. This was just a fast edit of how I would do it at the first glance.
Yeah, this was more of a sneak peek into how you would take a photo from raw to achieving the styling and the coloring that you want from it. In this case, 70s film photography.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also a bit from pre-production, the idea, the mood board. You have to constantly check with people. You will have the stylist telling you, I'm going to buy more clothes. She will send you photos. You choose together. You work together also in pre-production. And then you work together on set, on the real shooting, to have a better workflow and to focus on other aspects.
Yeah, in order to make it more cohesive, everybody needs to be in sync, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, great. We'll certainly continue talking for as long as you have without recording. Thank you so much for doing this. I know it's not easy. I've just started as well, and I know how it feels to be talking to a camera. Thank God it's two of us this time. But
oh my God! So, being in front of the camera here in this call, in this podcast, while you are every time behind it, it's difficult.
Yeah. And we've established that it's already difficult being a creative, but this is more difficult, right? Yeah. Thank you again. And thank you for showing our audience how it's done and how you do it, and for telling them, for being vulnerable about your stories, about your life, about how being a photographer feels like. And hope we're going to talk again at some point and do more.
We will.
Yeah.
Next time I'm gonna call you.
Yeah, sure. God bless. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Ciao.
Ciao.